Broncos versus Chargers. Let's break down my two best bets for Week 16 Thursday Night Football. In this video, I'm going to break down my favorite player prop as well as my pick on the total with plenty of analysis. But before that, let's do a status report on this channel. Let's audit ourselves. We are currently minus 5.65 units in the red, which is by far the worst NFL season I have had since I started giving out picks publicly back in 2021. I mean, just in 2023, we were well in the green. We netted almost 40 units, and we were going for our fourth straight profitable season. And to add even more insult to injury, we went 0-2 on our Monday Night Football props. Luckily, the last leg of our teasers made the day not so bad, but still, it hasn't been a good season. I apologize to those who tailed, but what I can promise is that I'm going to continue to give you my best effort with as much analysis that you feel is pertinent to the game, and I still really do appreciate all the support. And if you've been along for this ride and you still think I'm going to get hot, let me know in the comments section below and make sure to like the video. And if you're just coming in for the first time, you might be coming in at the perfect time because my plan is to get hot. So make sure to subscribe. And again, everybody let me know in the comment section below what you're on for this Week 16 Thursday Night Football game. I'll be sure to answer all the comments just like I always do. And a reminder, this channel is sponsored by BetMGM. It is the perfect time to use promo code JustGridiron for a first bet offer up to $1,500. Deposit at least $10. And if you lose your first wager on BetMGM after using code JustGridiron, you'll get it all back up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Also, they're doing 7 days of parlays. It started on the 17th, goes to the 23rd. They got different odds boost tokens, tons of different stuff for multiple different sports. So go check out all the great stuff that they're doing on BetMGM. But remember to use code JustGridiron before you get started to unlock that first bet offer up to $1,500. But remember, gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply. We're going to start with the player prop first because I think it's going to lend itself to explaining why I'm looking at the total in this game. So when J.K. Dobbins got injured against the Ravens 4 weeks ago, OC, offensive coordinator Greg Roman, kind of came out and said, who's going to be the starter? Well, we're just going to give it to the quote-unquote hot hand. In their next game against the Falcons, the Chargers only ran the ball 11 times. Bizarre game in which they should have lost, but they won 17-13. Justin Herbert only had 23 passing attempts. They only ran the ball 11 times. Just low volume all around. Now, Gus led the team that game in yards and attempts, but it was just 6 carries for 32 yards. And now in their next game against the Chiefs, looked more like a normal workload in a somewhat split backfield. Gus led the team again in carries and yards, 10 attempts for 36 yards. He wasn't very efficient, but neither was his backup in Kamani Vidal. So no hot hand has really been established at all. And again, it wasn't established because last week the Chargers got walloped by the Buccaneers. That was one leg of our teaser, taking the Bucs. We should have just taken them outright. So the run game in general was just completely out of whack. Both guys were not efficient. Gus had 8 carries, though, to Kamani Vidal at only 3. So the Chargers should have a playoff spot, even if they lose this game, but the odds go up to 97% with a win. And after losing 3 of their last 4, and it should have been 4 out of their last 4, I think when push comes to shove, they're going to give it to the veteran Gus Edwards much more than Kamani Vidal because he just hasn't taken over this job. And now the Broncos' run defense is certainly really good, right? They rank 6th in rushing yards allowed to running backs this season. Overall, they've been great, but lately they've been run on. Over the entire season, they rank 2nd in the NFL in yards per carry at 3.9. Over the last 3 weeks, though, that number has gone up to 4.2, and then last week, 4.7, where Jonathan Taylor just torched them, right? They've also gone against 3 straight quarterbacks where they are able to stack the box. Anthony Richardson, Jameis Winston, Aiden O'Connell. And you can't really do that against Justin Herbert, especially with Ladd McConkey in this game. So I expect the Chargers to be relatively successful running the football in this one, and they're going to have to. I'll explain why they're going to have to a little bit later, but this interior defensive line for the Broncos is also a little bit banged up. DJ Jones was a DNP kind of throughout the week, or at least on Monday, limited on Tuesday. I think he's going to play. He was a full practice, but still not 100%. John Franklin Myers, As of Tuesday, he had yet to practice, but he was a practice participant on Wednesday. Again, both should play. Again, John Franklin Myers with a foot injury. Just not an ideal situation. And for a running back like Gus Edwards, who runs in between the tackles, right? They don't give him the name Gus Bus Edwards for no reason. He has a more significant chance, I think, of breaking through one of these holes. So the Chargers should give Gus Edwards between 10 to 12 carries in this game, which I think they will. Again, I'll explain why later. And all he would have to do if he gets that sort of volume is average 3.4 yards per carry. With the Broncos' run defense kind of trending in the wrong direction, I think that should be attainable here. J.K. Dobbins ran the ball 25 times against the Broncos in their last matchup, and it's clearly important for a coach like Jim Harbaugh to establish the run here when he hasn't really been able to during this losing streak. With the Broncos' run defense being more susceptible to guys breaking out like Jonathan Taylor did last week, or even some of the Browns and the Raiders running backs did okay. The Chargers continuing to establish the run game. I think Gus Edwards go over 33 and a half rushing yards. So I bet that to win one unit. Gus Bus over 33 and a half, and I would play it all the way to 35 and a half. Again, we're going to talk about the total in a second, but remember, more analysis on Gus Edwards will be kind of answered in this total recap. So let's talk about the total, because the Broncos defensive line, again, has been an absolute force against opposing quarterbacks. They rank second in pressure rate, sixth in pass rush win rate, and rank number one in dropback EPA. Nick Bonito has emerged as an elite edge rusher, ranks 14th among all edge rushers in pass rush win rate. He's one of the league leaders in sacks as well. Zach Allen ranks first among all defensive tackles in pass rush win rate. The Broncos combine this elite pass rush with the best secondary in the league, highlighted by the number one cornerback in the league in Pat Surtain. They rank number one in EPA per play against dropbacks, second lowest success rate on dropbacks in the league. In the first matchup against the Chargers, Herbert tried to push the ball downfield, as evidenced by his intended air yards average of 8.7 yards. The caveat is that his average completed air yards in that game was just 5.3. You can try to push the ball deep against the Broncos. It just doesn't work. It didn't work for Justin Herbert, and it hasn't worked for anybody. That is why establishing the run is so important for the Chargers in this game, which led them to victory in their first matchup. I don't expect 20 carries for Gus in this one, or even the 25 that J.K. Dobbins get, but he should get enough volume to surpass 33 and a half rushing yards, even if he's not efficient. And by all accounts, the Chargers' offense is below average. They rank 17th in EPA per play and have averaged just 21 points per game, which ranks 20th in the league. The offensive struggles get turned up a notch when they step up in class against a good defense. In 3 games against top 10 defenses by EPA per play, the Chargers are averaging under 17 points per game. But on the flip side, let's talk about the Chargers defense versus the Broncos offense. From weeks 1 to 8, the Chargers were second in EPA per play, right? Their defense was humming. But there was questions because their schedule was super soft. Let's see how they do when they take a step up in class facing good offenses, right? Because they were facing all bottom 10 offenses through those first 8 weeks. And they definitely regress after they started facing teams like the Bengals or the Ravens, Chiefs, and the Bucks. So since week 9, they rank 18th in EPA per play. And I know that data sounds bad, but the Broncos are not a good offense here. The Broncos are a great team headlined by their defense. But almost, I'm seeing a lot of people couple in Bo Nix with this. Bo Nix has been good, not great, and he definitely has some holes still. The Broncos rank 23rd on EPA on offense, far from a top 10 unit. Chargers defense might not be elite as we're used to like earlier on in the season, but they're still a formidable unit in a divisional game that has had success against the Broncos before. And after giving up 40 points, now facing a divisional opponent, we should get 100% effort from the Chargers defense in this one. And why I think the Chargers defense is going to continue to be successful against Bo Nix, and teams who play a lot of zone can say the same. Bo Nix against zone and against man, his numbers against zone fall off a cliff. He has the 15th best completion percentage in the league against man. Drops to 35th against zone, one of the worst marks in the NFL. Same thing goes with his passer rating. Against man, 93.6, pretty solid. Against zone, 78.6, 34th in the league. And also another trend for you, 60% trend overall. In outdoor divisional games after week 10, the under is 291 190 and 12, a 60% hit rate with a 17% ROI. The line for this total when they played earlier on in the season was 37.5. And now this game ended 23-16. So that actually got them to an over with 39 total points. But both teams are coming off games where the over just hit. But we should expect the Chargers defense to bounce back. And the Broncos put up 31 points against the Colts while having less than 200 yards of total offense. Entirely unsustainable here. This total, I think, should be 41, but I think it's slightly inflated due to some of the matchups that the Broncos and the Chargers have had over the last few weeks. I think it should be at 41. So at 42.5, I bet the under between the Chargers and the Broncos at minus 115 to win 1 unit. I know I've been on a cold streak, folks. I apologize. If you want to put me to the side, I understand, but I'm going to keep giving you my best effort, and I think we're about to go on a heater. Let's go 2-0 on Monday Night Football. Why not us?